What could the Ukrainian-Russian conflict look like come 2024? This brewing geopolitical storm is a subject of great intrigue and conjecture amongst global pundits and analysts. Most importantly, they project a possible erosion of greater tracts of land for Ukraine, an already beleaguered nation suffering from a tumultuous history of armed strife. This forecast doesn't bode well for Ukraine, which has already lost Crimea and part of the Donbas region to Russia. The prime focus of concern is the eastern Ukrainian region known as Donbas. This area, rich in coal and industrial assets, is not only crucial for Ukraine's economy, but also holds strategic importance due to its location. Russia, with its intimidating military strength, is believed to have set its sights on certain key cities within this area. Kramatorsk and are two such cities, which, if captured, would provide Russia with a complete stranglehold over the Donbas region. This possible power shift in territory underlines the critical need for Ukraine to enhance its defenses urgently. The stakes are high, and the country has been urged to fortify its positions along the disputed borders more robustly. This includes the augmentation of defensive structures, emplacements, and surveillance systems. Moreover, Ukraine must also elevate domestic production of ammunition to meet the demands of a potential escalation. With a squad of soldiers and unchanged military hardware, the domestic production of ammunition becomes a necessity. In conclusion, Ukraine's future hinges on its ability to strengthen its defenses and impede further territorial losses. The dire need for Ukraine to bolster its military capabilities and ensure the security of its borders is more urgent than ever. In this intricate web of power and control, both Russia and Ukraine are committed to a hold-and-build strategy. This approach entails solidifying their military footholds while steadily enhancing their forces and capabilities. Like two ardent chess players, they meticulously plan their moves, fortifying territories they hold and building their defenses, all while preparing to make bold advancements. This high-stakes game is played out on the global stage, where every calculated move carries the potential to modify the trajectory of history. The suspense between these two nations is tangible, a noiseless battle for supremacy. The world, caught in the edge of their seats, watches as this geopolitical drama unfurls. West's involvement sits right at the core of the conflict, a key factor that could skew the equilibrium of power. The West's support is a pivotal aspect of this power play. Their endorsements, diplomatic sanctions, and military aid could potentially counterbalance Russia's formidable prowess. Should the West withhold or withdraw their support, Russia might find the scales tipping to its favor. This could dramatically shift the dynamics of the conflict, granting Russia an unprecedented upper hand. However, the situation is draped in a veil of uncertainties and questions. The adequacy of the support provided to Ukraine is under heavy scrutiny, raising doubts about its sufficiency and effectiveness. The West's aid is seen as a lifeline for Ukraine, but will it be enough to counter the sheer might of Russia, or will it merely add to the narrative of a futile struggle? An effort that barely scratches the surface of Russia's imposing force. The world waits for answers as the chess game continues, one move at a time. Under the stewardship of Vladimir Putin, Russia has been enacting measures to evade a potential setback in the ongoing conflict. These measures involve a significant militarization of the country's economic framework. This militarization is undertaken by repurposing a substantial portion of the country's industrial capacity towards the production of military hardware. The government has enacted policies that encourage and fund local manufacturers to produce armaments and related supplies, thus ensuring a steady stream of ammunition and weapons. This shift is perceived as a reaction to escalating international pressures and a strategy to protect the nation's sovereignty. However, a major obstacle that Russia confronts is the harsh sanctions imposed by the Western nations. Despite the stringent sanctions, there are indications that Russia has adeptly navigated around these, which has caused surprise among international observers. While all this unfolds, there's a lingering doubt about the level and durability of military and fiscal support that the United States is providing. The ambiguity around the exact monetary amount, the types of military assets being provided, and the long-term commitment of the US in providing such support has led to this skepticism. Furthermore, with changes in the political climate and leadership in the US, the consistency and strength of this support have been cast into doubt. Projections indicate a grim reality where the death toll continues to mount for both Russia and Ukraine. The staggering casualties on both these fronts are a chilling reminder of the relentless ferocity of this war. Russia, in particular, finds itself grappling with mounting complications and an increasingly hostile environment. On the other side of this conflict, Ukraine's strategic prowess is gaining international attention. Their commendable strategic decisions and tactical warfare have made a significant impact on the course of the conflict. Their ability to successfully carry out special operations, executive operations, has garnered them unparalleled recognition. These operations aren't just well executed, but they demonstrate an extraordinary level of sophistication and strategy under the harshest of conditions. However, the harsh reality persists that an end to this devastating conflict appears unlikely without a significant alteration in the approach or strategies of Moscow. Despite Ukraine's impressive efforts and international recognition, the brutal war is anticipated to drag on without a substantial change in Moscow's standpoint. The current trajectory of the conflict suggests a drawn-out war with no end in sight unless Moscow decides to change its course dramatically. Ukraine's fortunes in 2024 are perceived as highly dependent on the actions and decisions of the formidable Russian president, Vladimir Putin. His strategic moves and policies have a direct impact on Ukraine given the intricate political and historical ties between the two nations. Not only do Putin's internal policies affect the economic and political stability of Ukraine, but his foreign policy decisions also shape Ukraine's international relations and its standing on the global stage. Thus, Putin's decisions could potentially alter the trajectory of Ukraine's future. In addition, the geopolitical landscape of the region is further complicated by the upcoming presidential elections in Ukraine. These elections hold far-reaching consequences for Ukraine and the world at large. The elected leadership will be responsible for charting the course for Ukraine's future, steering its foreign policy, and managing its relations with neighboring countries, including Russia. The new leader's stance on crucial issues such as economic reform, corruption, and the ongoing conflict in eastern Ukraine can significantly affect the balance of power in the region. Thus, the implications of these elections aren't limited to Ukraine's borders alone, but extend to global politics and international relations. The prospect of potential changes in US leadership further amplifies the uncertainty surrounding Ukraine's fortunes. The United States, being a significant global player, has always influenced the dynamics of the Ukrainian conflict through its foreign policy. Any shifts in American foreign policy, especially ones regarding Ukraine, could bring about drastic changes to the situation in Ukraine. For example, a shift towards a more isolationist stance could weaken the support for Ukraine, while a more interventionist policy could potentially tip the scales in Ukraine's favor. In the face of these potential changes, the West's unwavering support remains a key factor. Their provision of advanced, battle-winning weapons could potentially tip the scales in Ukraine's favor. However, the ability of the West to continue supplying such armaments is heavily dependent on their own political leadership and international policies. Therefore, the future of Ukraine is closely intertwined with the political dynamics of its more powerful neighbors and allies. The 2024 narrative is significantly marked by the West's pivotal role. This role goes beyond the usual diplomatic exchanges and ventures into a much-needed exertion of influence and power. This crucial involvement is an urgent and resounding call for a higher degree of commitment to fortify Ukraine's defense capabilities, a commitment not just required but demanded by the circumstances. The West's role is not political alone. It's a matter of securing safety, upholding territorial integrity, and ensuring the survival of a nation. The West's role in this scheme is about arming Ukraine better against looming threats, both visible and covert. This grand stage, which is a spectacle of the ever-changing geopolitical landscape, spotlights the West's essential involvement in this historic struggle. The task at hand is far from ordinary. It's a challenge that national boundaries and emerges on the global arena. The narrative, wrapped in a grave tone, delivers a stern warning against any miscalculations. It throws light on the ripple effects of these strategic choices, how the repercussions echo in the power corridors, and the potential of these decisions to shape the future. The narrative serves as a wake-up call, a pressing plea for all to fully grasp the importance of this critical juncture. It is not just about Ukraine's survival, but it is also an existential question for the West itself. The narrative stresses the seriousness of the situation and the necessity for unified action, hence amplifying the call for a stronger commitment from the West and the dire need for precise strategic planning. The funding question for Ukraine has sparked a significant dialogue, centering on worries over the dwindling supplies of weapons and ammunition. It becomes glaringly obvious that Ukraine, holding a critical position on the global chessboard, is crying out for reinforcement. This particular point of contention has thrust the US under the spotlight. Many are advocating for America to persist in its aid to Ukraine, leaning into the values of democracy and peace. However, the terrain of American politics is riddled with dissent and controversy. The inward-facing mantra of America first is, in the eyes of some, a stumbling block on the path to worldwide harmony. Even so, the matter remains. The political dynamics of America and the America first standpoint present considerable challenges. The prospect of a shift in the war's dynamics looms heavy. A change in the guard, particularly in US leadership, could drastically change the course of the conflict. This isn't just a simple exchange of power, it's a monumental shift that could shake the bedrock of global geopolitics. As the world stands on the precipice of a new era, the potential impacts are daunting. A new order may soon emerge, and with it the rules of engagement might be subject to complete transformation. The corridors of power are buzzing with diplomatic chess games, the results of which could lead to a significant realignment of alliances. It's more than just a reshaping of the world map. The ripple effect from a change in leadership could echo throughout the world's political landscape, causing changes that are as yet unimaginable. The world is now approaching a critical juncture, a crucial moment where fortunes could pivot drastically. The sense of anticipation is almost palpable as the global community watches with bated breath. The next move in this high-stakes game could either be a masterstroke or a blunder that could lead to a cascade of consequences. This is a time of uncertainty where every decision could potentially have far-reaching effects. The world is waiting, watching, and wondering how this situation will unfold. The potential impacts on a global scale could be both exhilarating and terrifying. As we stand on the brink of change, it's clear that the world is gearing up for a momentous event, the likes of which has never been seen before.